Yeah.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Betting Bankers. We're in the middle of Glorious Goodwood this week, and there's a lot of action tonight. The NBA is back, and there's Serie B tomorrow, so we've got lots to look forward to. We've had a pretty successful week ourselves this week as well. We mentioned a few winning horses earlier in the week. If you caught our show on, I believe it was Tuesday night, and our Serie A predictions were pretty interesting as well. So hopefully we can end the week on a high note tomorrow with plenty of action, and it's actually going to start tonight with the NBA. So I think, David, you've got your eye on a couple of basketball selections now that the action is back.
Yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to it. When it's on, like, it's pretty much every night of the week. You know yourselves, the way the NBA. I think maybe there was 2 nights off since the start of the season up until the lockdown. So very much looking forward to things getting back on track. There's only 2 games on tonight. One is the Jazz are at the Pelicans, and that's on at 11:30 GMT our time. So it's a pretty open game by the look of it. There's no big favourite there, which is making me fancy the Pelicans. They're 3-4 for the win. I thought they'd be bigger than that. They've obviously been, the last few months before lockdown, they were on serious form. They've that young star, Zion Williamson. He started the season injured, but since getting fit again and getting into the team, they've been great class. And he's been kind of running the show. Certainly, beating his points spread in nearly every game in his opening, 10 or 20 games. So I'm going to stick with him. I'm going to back Pelicans for the win. Zion to score over 20 points, and then Drew Holiday to score over 1.5 3-pointers. Holiday's been averaging over 2 this season. I think his last 9 games he's scored more than 2 in 8 of them. So, or over 1.5 in 8 of them. So
those over threes seem the most achievable bets when you're looking at them beforehand.
Because they're so low. Like he only needs 2. Like. If he throws one in the first quarter, you've so much time left to wait for him to nail another one.
What always catches me with the basketball bets is the players getting sort of rested or benched for a while or rotated out, and they go too far ahead, and the guy's been on fire and he just sits on the bench for the next 12 minutes, and it's just infuriating. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, or they can just get taken off for the last quarter if the game is won. Like that's stung a few bets like that, alright.
Yeah, as you said before, Dave, like the advantages, you get the overtime and stuff as well,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, the points bets continue into overtime, unlike soccer where if it goes to extra time, that's it, you're dead if you haven't got your bet in. So it's handy that way as well. But yeah, you kind of don't know what way to go tonight. Like, I was thinking of doing one of those, looking for a couple of even shots over the week of it and build up a bank that way. I'm definitely going to start one of them soon, but you kind of want to see what way the teams are coming back out after lockdown and all that.
Yeah, we saw that with a lot of football. The teams just completely lost their form or regained form. The lockdown.
It's impossible to tell, but it's just that human element to sport that you just don't know what's going on in players' heads or that. Rudy Gobert, the French player for Jazz, he was the fella that went into a press conference. This was just around the start of lockdown when they were still kind of deciding what was happening, and he went in like rubbing his hand over all the microphones that were out for the interview, and like the next day he was tested positive for COVID. So obviously that was a bit of shame on him, he hasn't had time to kind of get back to basketball since to kind of that's the last thing he did in the public eye. So
yeah. And you mentioned there was 2 games. Do you have any action in the second game, or is it just
the second game? Then is the Clippers and the Lakers down at the Staples Center. So it's obviously the 2 of their home stadiums, the Staples Center in LA, but it's they still have a home team defined. So it's the Lakers at home. But this fixture was the opening game of their season, and these 2 played each other in the Staples Center first game of the season. The Clippers won. The Clippers are 17-10 to do the same thing again here. which seems like good odds to me. I mean, it'd obviously be no shot. It's one of those games that could go either way. But 17-10 just seems, pretty good value for that. I'm kind of thinking Kawhi will need a decent game. Kawhi Leonard for the Clippers if they're going to win. So I've just rather than 17-10, I've backed him for 25 plus points along with the win. He's banging in 30 points per game most games. So 25, if they are to win, should be pretty achievable. So that's 3-1. So I'm not sure if I mentioned first bet that same game multi it's about just shy of 4-1, and then the double of Hawaii and the Clippers is 3-1. So,
can you combine those bets? Is that possible?
Can't combine the same game multi with the.
No.
You could bet the Kawhi game. It's just one bet. It's just a match special. Kawhi points and Clippers win. So you could combine that with others. But the three elements I put together on that, Pelicans win. Well, we won't combine with it.
They're probably worth keeping separate anyway at 3-4 or 3-1 and 4-1. They're reasonable.
I mean, they're not outrageous. They're not like banker, bets or kind of even bets that you'd be, very much expecting to come in. But they seem good. If things resume back to how they were before the break, they both seem like fairly achievable bets. So
yeah.
It goes anyway.
There's a few bets in the Serie B tomorrow with that sort of price range that have kind of caught my eye as well. I'm not sure if you've been looking at the table. I know there's been a lot of stuff this week to distract people's attention, but there's a few teams in both the promotion playoffs and the relegation playoffs that could go either way. So teams that are sitting in one of those zones now that, depending on the results, they could stay up or they could be guaranteed to go down or they could get promoted miss out.
It's the last round of games tomorrow night, right?
Yeah.
So there's still plenty. Yeah, that's good. It's always had to have excitement.
Yeah, so the last three playoff promotion spots, there's probably 5 teams kind of playing out for that. There's only 2 points between Chievo, Pisa, Frosinone, Salernitana, and even Empoli. There's only 2 points between all of them. I actually think the pick of the games is going to be the Frosinone take on Pisa. So they're both in the promotion playoffs now. But if one of them loses, there's a good chance they'll miss out on it because the teams below them have kind of more manageable fixtures. And it's kind of a similar story at the bottom then as well. You've got everyone from Ascoli down to that Juve Stabia team. There's only a couple of points, maybe 5 points between those, but some of them are definitely going to get relegated. And I think the big one for Juve is that they can get out of the guaranteed relegations into the relegation playoff positions. So that's actually kind of an interesting one. They're away to Cosenza. So I think there's always goals in the Serie B, but even more so tomorrow night, those games are just lined up that if a team is drawing, a draw won't suffice for them and they'll need to win, they'll go for it, and then there's always a lot of goals out there. So
it's what we hope for, what we strive for.
Yeah. I'm actually looking forward to myself now. I haven't had a chance to pick out my bets, but I'm going to go down to the bookies tomorrow and do a bit of research beforehand and
spend some of your winnings from these horses.
Yeah. So
we're the fools in that regard because Gary, you've mentioned quite a few first and second horses this week, and myself and David have managed and contrived to not actually back them ourselves. But
we even said on that call, we were like the Trixie on those 3 horses that you mentioned.
Yeah.
What did we figure out that would have paid? Like, was it 8-1 or something? 20
no, so there was the each way leg of the 2 horses that paid 50-1, and then I give a double. Well, I have three horses on. This is what day is now? So Wednesday, and 2 of the 3 won. But I had them doubled up. So what did that pay? Probably 22-1, something like that.
You can't see it below the bottom of the screen, but Gary's got a brand new gold watch there.
Yeah, well, I could have. Now, it's a pity. Like, we were all set up to live stream yesterday, and one of the horses I had picked out in the race at Galway was 50-1, and finished second. So I had him back each way, so 10-1 a place was fairly good.
Was he far off the win, Gary, or did he ever look like
about a length maybe?
Really?
A length to 2 lengths, yeah.
And even kind of coming around that last bend, it looked possible as well.
Liam knows that my old favourite Aramon, I harped on about him last year. I got Liam to back him for the champion hurdle anti-post at like 100 to 1. And then we both backed him. Was it the county hurdle we backed him for?
Yeah.
At about 25s. And I think he finished second or third in the county hurdle, but he ran a decent race, just couldn't get home. And since then, he's come out twice this season and won. Lugged around a heavyweight today. So when I looked at the race, he was tugging on my heartstrings, and I didn't think that he would be able to carry that weight around on a handicap. But he proved me wrong and cost me a 50 to 1 shot. So, but as I said, each way I'll take the 10 to 1 the place.
It's kind of bittersweet because you're vindicated for the earlier picks at the 100 to 1 and the 25 to 1 when you got him anti-post. It kind of shows that you were on the right track. But then not only do you not get the winners with those, it knocks the 50 to 1 winner today.
Yeah, but it's been a good week so far at Goodwood. I've managed to limit my bets at Galway because Galway is a bit of a lottery, and there's a bit of a gangster feel to it. Trainers have things going in under the radar, and it's always been a meeting I've struggled to get winners at. Whenever I've really fancied something and gone big on them, they've lost. So kind of playing around with small money at Galway. But I've had a few winners, so that was good. But I said Goodwood has been the main focus of my bets.
I kind of saved myself today with the Duke of Firenze. We'd mentioned him as well in the Tuesday's podcast or live cast, and he was, you mentioned yourself, Gary. There's only 2 places in that, so I wasn't mad on the each way price. Especially when I backed him, he was only about, I think he was even gone in as far as 15 to 2 or something before he went back out to 12.
Is it still quarter the odds when it's only 2 to place?
It would be. It kind of depends on the bookies that your bookmaker you're betting with, but most of them will go a quarter. Some will go a fifth because they're tight, But
so to get around that, I'd put him in a reverse forecast with the favourite, and it came in. So I got actually I think I got sort of 12 to 1 price on that. So I was actually pretty pleased with that. Or maybe a bit higher, 14s to 1 maybe. So kind of.
Yeah, it definitely would have been higher because he was 12 to 1.
He was 12 when he went off. Yeah. So
yeah.
At this hour, my internal calculator is not firing very well.
Yeah. But Duke, as I said, had a bit of seconditis today now. So I think I backed 4 horses and I had 3 seconds and third, I think. But as I said, I had 2 of them each way, so that was all right. I Duke to win. I went for the green on him, and then I had show me in the first at Goodwood to win as well. I got him at 9s last night. I think he went off around 6s. Ran a decent race, finished third. So yeah, it's good. To be getting the runs out of the horses I'm picking is fairly good. Tomorrow looks a tough day. There's a couple at bigger prices that are kind of inkling at me, and they need a bit of trust. So I don't know. So I'll call them out here. In the 145 at Goodwood, I'll probably back Altiqua for Charlie Appleby and William Buick, but I've looked through Boomer, who was as a 2-year-old a horse last season that I liked. Hasn't really ran a good race as a 3-year-old, but won a Group 3 over course and distance. And Goodwood is a track that's kind of a horses for courses track. So he's 22 to 1. She's 22 to 1 tomorrow. I'm being tempted by that. Yeah, like I said, I don't know whether she'll win, and she could bomb out because she's bombed out kind of twice or 3 times this season. But I'm just taking a chance, or potentially taking a chance, that she gains a bit of form. She likes the venue again and win. So I said I'll probably back 2 in the race. Altiqua would be my main bet, but I might have a 5 each way or something on Boomer as well, just as a cover bet, because there's nothing worse than looking through a race, seeing something that you think is a big price, going off it, and then seeing it romp in. And then 2 others that I fancy tomorrow: Cliffs of Capri in the 245. Was running a good race. I think it was last Saturday at Ascot. That replicates that run. should be in the mix. So backing him, and then in the lucky last Ventura Diamond for Richard Fahey and Oisin Murphy. So Oisin Murphy, I think, has an 80% strike rate. It's definitely around 75%, 80% strike rate when he's riding for Richard Fahey. I think he's 4 from 5, so that'd be 80%. But he could be 3 from 4. I'm not too sure. But those lining up together, they won on actually Toro Strike, who I mentioned on the podcast on Tuesday. They teamed up for him. So yeah, he looks to have a good chance. It's a filly's maiden. There's a couple of unraced in there, so there could be anything kind of lurking in behind. But she's had one run, finished 4th. Since then, Richard Fahey found a bit of form. He's 14% over the last 2 weeks. So I'm hoping that combination can team up. She's 11-4 at the minute. So yeah, might get 3-1 in the morning prices. So they'd be the ones I have picked out at Goodwood. Yeah, that's really my feelings tomorrow.
Yeah, some interesting prices there. And I mean, obviously people will do their own selections and their own bets, but I think quite a few of the ones you mentioned earlier in the week were significantly lower prices the following morning. So I, for one, will be trying to get on them sharpish, because the ones that I did back,
you just need to be careful, because I did a few bets with Paddy Power last night because I knew I had a fairly busy morning this morning and I wasn't going to be able to get down to the bookies. And I realised that they only do best odds guaranteed online from 8 o'clock in the morning, which that's definitely new. In the past, they've done best odds guaranteed, like, you know, when the final declarations are in kind of 24 hours beforehand, I think.
I think online, Betfair are usually quite good with the best odds guaranteed. Unless that changed recently as well. But
no, like I think Betfair is still doing it. I was surprised when I saw it with Paddy Power. And I actually did a Lucky 15 for today, an each way Lucky 15. I think I got 3 places in. But it was only just one win. It was like a 20p line or something. But I did that just in case they drift. And then when I went in this morning, I saw the banner on Paddy Power and I was a bit surprised. So yeah, just be careful if you are backing tonight, especially the likes of Boomer. Like, you know, Boomer could go off to 33s. I don't think she's gonna be a horse that a lot of people get behind. And as I said, she is really a 16-1 above shot. It's not something that you'd be looking at saying, you know, like I think who's the other one? Sorry, horse is going through my head. The one on the handicap I mentioned there. Sorry, to get off.
You mentioned Cliffs of Capri.
Yeah, Cliffs of Capri. Yeah, Cliffs of Capri. Sorry, just went totally out of my head. So Cliffs of Capri. Yeah, Cliffs of Capri could go off 5-1. It's 10s at the minute, could go off 5-1. So if you're thinking back in one, I'd back that probably tonight. But Boomer, I said, you're probably better off waiting until the morning if you're not going to get best odds guaranteed.
Sounds good. That's good now. So we've got bets tonight with the NBA that will hopefully roll on to some cash in the pocket to catch those horses tomorrow, and then we'll be live streaming here for the Serie B. So they all kick off at 8 o'clock, and as usual, there's only 9 of the 10 matches available to bet on. I do have there's 3 away teams with both teams scoring in those games that have kind of caught my eye, which is Pescara, Pisa, and Perugia. So that's to kind of guarantee promotion and avoid relegation in those 3. Perugia, all 3 of them are 6-1, which seems that someone is sleeping.
All the P's.
Yeah, just going through an alphabetical order, and that's where I stopped. But all of them are 6-1, and the prices in those games are oddly.
You mean the treble is 6-1 for?
No, each of them are 6-1. The treble is 343-1.
Oh, Jesus.
Both teams to score.
Both teams to score and the away wins.
Oh, the away win with it. Sorry, right.
Yeah. Got both teams to score 6-1 in the Serie B would be like.
But there is good value. I was looking at that. Like the both teams to score across the board is like kind of even money, 19 to 20 kind of prices, which is madness for that league. And some of it in that league is a little bit of, stick a pin in it. But I'll definitely be having a look tomorrow to try and, like last week I got fairly close with a bet looking at percentage that they've scored away from home if they're away, or at home if they're at home, and looking at percentage clean sheets, vice versa as well. So I'm going to try a bit of that tomorrow, put some logic in it. But in some of those, given that the prices, as we said before on this forum, like if these games were happening in England, you wouldn't be getting those prices.
No.
And I even in Ireland, like I looked, so the League of Ireland starts back tomorrow. And I fancied over 2.5 goals in Dundalk versus St. Pat's. I think over 2.5 goals is priced up as 13 to 20. So nearly 1 to 2 for over 2.5 goals in that game, where it could easily finish 1-0 to Dundalk. Whereas in the Serie B, you're kind of guaranteed goals. So,
and even the context of those games, these are the first League of Ireland games back in months. Everyone could be a bit rusty in front of goal. You compare it to the Serie B, where it's the last game of the season. They've been playing twice a week for the last month. You know what I mean?
And a lot of teams need to go for it. They have to, if a team was down 1-0, they have to throw caution to the wind.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it on a previous live stream of the Serie B that, over 2.5 in every game seems to, I think it only came up once this season, but you can kind of go over 4.5 in a lot of games. And if you get that right, your bet will be in, because there'll be 35 odd goals. The Chievo-Pescara game really jumps out at me. Chievo are the best of that bunch that are still fighting for the promotion playoffs. So they're the top of the 5 teams I mentioned earlier. And as long as they don't lose, they're pretty much guaranteed, or they're guaranteed if they don't lose to get that promotion playoff spot. And they're against Pescara, who are behind Perugia on goal difference. Perugia are going to stay up, and Pescara are going to go into the relegation playoffs. And they both could score and concede plenty. Obviously, Chievo scored a bit more and conceded a bit less, and vice versa, because they're opposite ends of the table. That game, I just can't see that game not being high scoring, because both of them have to go for it. So if one of them scores, the other team can't sit back. They're probably certainly not Pescara. They're certainly not going to defend a small lead, because if they draw, they'll go down almost, or a good chance. So that looks like one of those games that we saw last week with the Empoli game. It was just goal after goal after goal. So that's kind of the one I'll be keeping an eye on. That in the
I can't wait for this. I can't wait to sit there watching this. You're selling this up. I'm getting excited already.
I know. I'm going to lose sleep tonight getting excited about it.
I know. I wish it was
to the NBA.
Yeah. And the other one then is kind of similar, but Frosinone Pisa. So they both sit directly below Chievo. All 3 of them are on 53 points as well. So none of them are guaranteed. But Frosinone play Pisa. So that's why Chievo are probably safe, because one of Frosinone and Pisa have to drop points. But if one of them loses, and then beneath them there's Salernitana and Empoli, they can both win their games. And so Frosinone or Pisa could be comfortably promotions today, and if they lose, they could be out tomorrow. So that's another game that I can't see kind of fading out, especially if there's an early goal. So they'll be the 2 that I'll be kind of picking out for high scoring. And like Gary mentioned, that the odds on that are usually very, very generous, especially if you hit the sort of 3.5 marker. So
have you had a look at the League of Ireland, Abby?
Not for the game tomorrow, no. I mean, I'm kind of slightly distracted by the big clash on Saturday, so I've no bets picked out.
Okay, I've picked one out now. It's a little bit of stick a pin in the job, because, as you said, it's the first game back after a long break.
Presumably Shells -2 is in here somewhere.
Well, no, Shells don't play till Saturday.
Oh, this is just specifically tomorrow, is it?
This is for tomorrow, yeah. So there's 2 games tomorrow. Derry plays Sligo in the first game. And I'm going to back the draw on that. Derry are the better team, but they're priced up at like 2 to 7. And I don't think they're that far ahead of them, ahead of Sligo. So they didn't really blow teams away at the start of the season before COVID break, etc. So I'm going to go for a draw there. I'm going to go for both teams to score in the Dundalk and Pats game, which is the later game. I wouldn't put you off both teams to score and Dundalk to win. But if it's 5-4 for both teams to score, so I'm going to go for that. Longford are the best team in the first division by a country mile. They're 11-10 away to UCD. UCD are probably the second best team, but I think Longford are too far ahead of them. So putting that in. And then I also fancy the draw in Cabinteely, Galway. So that's priced up at 23-10. So that's a 55-1 fourfold. And as I said, there's a little bit, looking at the draws, you're taking a little bit of a chance. But
what price is the first draw that you mentioned?
The first draw is 13-5. So it's 13-5, 23-10 are the draws. And then basically fight for 11-10. So you might get even money maybe, or a little bit higher with different bookmakers. This is with Paddy Power. I didn't see it priced up on Fair, and I'm not too sure what other kind of the English bookies will have it priced up, but their prices from Paddy Power. So 55-1, it'll give an interest for the evening. It's great to have the league back. I'd encourage anybody who's watching this and is looking for a streaming service to sign up to the LOI pass, but obviously keep us on in the background.
Sign up on Saturday for the LOI pass. On Friday.
But we'll have those games on as well. So tomorrow when we're streaming, like obviously we won't be live for the Pats game, but we'll have the we won't be live for the Derry Rovers game, but we'll be live for Dundalk and Pats. So I'll have that on on the TV and keep you up to date with how it's going.
Well, you mentioned that LOI pass. I saw one of the ads for the videos for it the other day. It's less than €1 a game. Must be one of the cheapest live sport passes you're going to get.
Yeah, well, this is free, so even better. But it is good. You get access to all the games. So I said it'd be good for the league to get a little bit of a higher profile and people watching it. But yeah, that gives us a good interest tomorrow. Hopefully the first game is a draw, gets us by into the evening games, and then we can share it on live here. If we're knocked, we might have to reload on the travel. So it's still probably about 10-1 travel. So we'll reload on that if the first game does knock us. But
now before we wrap up, then maybe Slat, you want to just give us a recap on those NBA bets for tonight, just a reminder.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I'll have to just dig them out there again, but it's basically the Pelicans playing hosting the Jazz. So I fancy them to win, even though just for the straight win they're 4-5. But I've put them in a treble along with Zion to score over 20 points and Drew Holiday to score over 1.53 points. So that's paying at close to 4-1. And then the Clippers to beat the Lakers with Kawhi to score 25 plus points is 3-1. So they're my two NBA tips for tonight.
And if we have big black circles under our eyes tomorrow for the stream, we stayed up to watch those come in.
I'm very impressed that we've got through kind of a 20-minute conversation. We've talked a lot about basketball, and Dave hasn't mentioned his challenge that he got up. How many bets was it, Dave?
Well, it was the week in a row, was it?
It was
7 a week of straight wins, all rolled into each other.
Once the league settles down a bit and structure, we'll start that again. Sort of yeah, but it's always good to have that boast,
Yeah.
I'll see.
Okay, well, thanks for tuning in, and we'll be live tomorrow at a little bit before 8 p.m. for the games that we mentioned earlier, and best of luck in any of your selections tonight.
See you then.